Hey there, Danielle Matthews here. I'm coming to you live from Florida. Today is Monday, which means it's book club day. We are in the midst of reading Loyalty to Your Soul. Loyalty to Your Soul. It is by a couple, Ronald and Mary Holnick. They both have PhDs and appear to have a center out, I think it's Santa Monica maybe, where they teach spiritual psychology. So super interesting book. And it's all talking about these different aspects, hey Karen, of well, honestly, they're themes we talk about in all of our book clubs and certainly in Mastery. Karen was saying that this morning, Danielle, this is so in alignment with what you teach. And I said, yes, there are core truths in this life, and there are a lot of different ways to enter that. And what I find is that most people, they dig shallow holes. They run into an obstacle or something, and they stop going that way, and they say, oh, I don't like that. That's not fun. Blah, blah, blah. What I would say is go deep on one avenue. And then when you see these other ways that are accessing the same truth, it like solidifies it in even more, because it's like you're looking at something from a slightly different angle, and it helps you understand it even better. So good morning to you too, Karen. If you are joining me live, let me know. I think we are live on Facebook, but it does seem to be like not so sure that it's starting. So I don't know. Karen, did you try to check me on Facebook? I had somebody tell me last week that they couldn't find me over there. So let me end it and start it again. Maybe something happened funny. All right. Stand by, everybody. Stand by for a sec. Let's see. Technology. I did just get new internet, so that is good news. And hopefully I have Starlink now, which praise that company for doing that, because it's now, you couldn't find me over there. Okay, yeah, for some reason it's not. All right. Let's give everybody a minute here. Let me get it up there. Let's try again. So with Starlink, it should be better. It shouldn't be choppy and things. So it should be able to be there. Okay. It says I'm live. And then it says it's like starting. Oh, here we go. Okay, it's up now on Facebook. Okay. Shoo. All right. So let's dive in. We got a lot to talk about. The concept here that I think sets the tone for the chapter, it was actually on page 93, but he says, have you ever noticed that sometimes a particular thing that bothers you, sometimes it bothers you and sometimes it doesn't. Like you get annoyed sometimes, but not all the times about it. And he says, do you also notice that when you do get annoyed by something and you try and go fix the thing that has upset you, you can fuss about it, you can fume about it, he says, right? But that the unrest internally doesn't go away. And he says this is all pointing to this notion that there's actually an inner disturbance. It's not something that's going on out there. It's something that's going on in here that is causing the problem. Okay, so kind of interesting. Now he kicks off today's chapter. We're on chapter 5. I Am Upset Because is the name of the chapter, and it's so good. It says, angry people are like storms. At their core, they're peaceful. When times appear stormy, always move towards your center, for it's where you'll find your peace. Hey, Lou, I'm glad you guys are on here on Facebook. Good. Okay, yeah, sorry, everybody. The Facebook link is now working, but it wasn't before. Apologies. Okay, so this notion, I think about a hurricane, right? There's craziness going on in a hurricane, but you have the eye of the storm that's just calm. And so what this says, I think it's so beautiful. It says, look, when you're getting angry, you're in the storm. But remember, the eye is always there. There's always a calm center that you can rest back in. Witness consciousness, right? You can always come back to that. And in my mastery group, we were talking this past week about this concept called ahimsa, which basically means non-harming. And we talked about where are we most harming in life? To ourselves. We are most harming with the thoughts that we are saying to ourselves internally. Like if you actually wrote down the things that you say to yourself, you'd be horrified. Like it's nasty. You're nasty to yourself. And this whole thing where it's like once you see those nasty thoughts coming, once you feel the anger or the judgment or the whatever it is, when you recognize that's just a storm that's here and I don't have to engage with it, I can come back to the center. I can find peace amidst it. It is powerful. Your thoughts no longer have like control over you. Okay. You can drop back, and that's what I teach. And I'm interested to see how in spiritual psychology, they talk about it and teach about it. But this is the essence of what they're talking about in this chapter. He says, no matter what is happening in your life, you can experience contentment This was something he heard Ram Dass say. And if you remember in the book, he's talking about how he was driving to an appointment and he was just so like enamored with what was being shared by Ram Dass and from his spiritual teacher that he like literally pulled over and like missed his appointment and was just like, wow. And this notion that no matter what is happening in your life, no matter what's going on out there, I can have peace in here. He said, you can experience contentment. You can be the calm behind the storm. And he says, he integrated this by saying, well, this is massive. He wrote, I'm on page 86, I remember thinking, I can do this. No one has ever presented this possibility to me before, and I've never thought of it myself. But why should life's events make me feel a certain way? From this moment on, I'm going to choose and experience contentment, no matter what's happening. Okay? Put a 1 in the chat if you're like, that sounds like a great way to live, right? If you like read this and you're like, yeah, sounds good. Let's do it, right? It sounds fantastic. And maybe you've tried to live that way. But you probably found what? The same thing he did. Like it lasted, when you do willful action like that, lasted for about 2 weeks. And then all of a sudden, slowly, like these responses started to come back in that would overtake the contentment. They would just overtake it. And I teach all the time to my students, the external world plus your internal response equals your reality. He's saying the same thing here. He's saying you can have the internal response of saying, I'm going to be content no matter what. It is a choice. You can do that. And then your reality will be one of contentment. But what happens is that our ego comes in and our internal response, it's unconscious and it's automatic. And all of a sudden you're getting irritated. You're blowing up. You're being like, it should be this way. It could have been this way. Why are you doing this? And you're like, I want to choose contentment, but there's like something pulling me and reacting before I even realize that I'm reacting. These are these like unconscious grooves. My teacher calls them emotional memory stress disorder. It's like our PTSD that we all have. He says, the assumption that our feelings are because of something happening outside of us is inaccurate and it's illusory for both happy and unhappy emotions. Just because you're happy, it also doesn't mean that, well, I'm happy because this person, they did this and life showed up this way. No, you're choosing to open your heart in that situation, so you're feeling happiness. Same reason you get upset. You're choosing to get upset in that situation, which is why you're feeling the upsetness. It has nothing to do with what's external, but we're not taught this, and society makes us think we're like justified in thinking this way, but the truth of the matter is the external world is just happening. You are having an internal response to it, and that is creating your reality. And you can choose that internal response, okay? Like, have you ever found yourself thinking, well, if this person just changed, or they showed up this way, or they just did this thing, then I would be okay. Like, let's be honest. How many of us said, oh, if this person would just show up like this, if this person would just, blah, 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 fill in the blank, I would be okay. All right, he says, if you've ever felt that way, you've expressed the single most prevalent myth rampant in our culture today. Everything in my life would be fine, if only just a few things were happening differently. It's those little things that are happening the way that they are that's making me feel upset, right? I'm upset because people don't listen to me. I'm upset because people don't understand me. I'm upset because my spouse didn't call and tell me where they were. I'm upset because I don't have a spouse. I'm upset because of how my spouse is talking to me. I'm upset about my boss because they sent me this particular email that said this certain thing. I'm upset because I don't make enough money. I'm upset because politicians have little integrity. I'm upset because you don't worship the same God I worship. Whatever, right? How many of you recognize yourself in some of these things? Put in the blank whatever it is for you, whatever thoughts you've had, and you realize, wait a second, this approach, it's an epidemic on our planet for sure. Our society just says, yeah, this is correct. And it's even like you just turn on the news and the news will tell you, it's all about, well, because you said this, and the worst manifestation is killing. I mean, think about the assassination that we saw just with Charlie Kirk. It's like, because of the words that were coming out of his mouth, it upset someone enough to take an action such as taking his life. Like, that is wild. If you step back and think about that. This person did not realize that you could have a different internal response and experience a different reality. Who cares what someone else is doing? Okay, but society says, no, it's okay. In fact, you can even sue somebody for doing something that upsets you, that, there's some grievance that happened. Like, this is what we support as a society. So you start to be told, like, you're the crazy one for having these thoughts and wanting to act differently, right? But it's just nuts. He says, It creates a victim mentality. Okay, this is the crux of the matter. I am upset because XYZ thing happened is a complete and total victim position. Listen to this closely. It's an attitude that places the responsibility for one's emotional condition outside of oneself. I am a victim. I am feeling this way because of what you did. You spoke these words and it hurt me. And what we're saying here is, if you adopt that, you're a victim. There's nothing you can do to change it. And then you think, I have to take action, and some people, brutal action, right? I need to kill this person so I don't have to hear them speak again. I mean, that's the most extreme of it. I have to block them. I have to do this. I have to do that. Whatever. What we're saying here, what the book's saying, what I teach all the time is, no. Take your power back. You can have a different internal response, and it will allow you to take your power back. You're not a victim to anyone. I don't care what anyone says to you. You don't have to take it a certain way, right? I don't know. This is such a random thing. I just thought about it, but probably none of you listened to it. But Taylor Swift just came out with a new album a couple of weeks ago, and one of the songs I just loved because she was talking about how people hate on her all the time, but she flips it, and she says rather than having the internal response of being hurt and upset that people are like, talking about her all the time and being mean to her all the time and saying all this stuff to her, she calls them funny Valentines, and she says like, it's precious, it's adorable. No one's ever loved me as much as you do. And the song is just so funny because it's about, I find it funny, because it's about this lesson. It's about shifting the internal response. Like these people externally are doing all these nasty things to her, thinking it's going to hurt her, right? And so she experiences pain. Instead, she's saying, I'm just taking it as you love me. Like, you're spending so much time on me. Thank you for spending so much time thinking about me. Like, wow, I spend no time thinking about you, but that's adorable that you spend much time thinking about me. And therefore, her reality is one where she's like, oh, well, that's nice. Right? Anyway, go listen to the song. And you'll get a smile out of it. And I don't remember what it's called. Whatever. You'll figure it out. There's not so many songs on the album. Okay. There's another thing he shares here, just like, there's signs that point to this in life, and there's people that have figured it out, and they're pointing in the same direction. But I love that he shared this cartoon. He said there was 3 guys like panhandling, right, trying to get money, and one has a sign that says victim of child abuse, right? The other has a sign that says victim of society's poor educational system, and then the other one says result of poor choices. And the first two guys, they look and they say, oh, that third guy, he's not going to get anything with that approach, right? And it's like, it's laughing because it's like, well, the reality is you're in that situation because your own internal choices. It's like, yeah, there were poor choices, but no one is going to help you. They'd rather help the victim. Oh, well, it was the educational system. Oh, well, it was a bad childhood, right? No, the reality is you had an internal response, and you can shift your internal response, and you can make different choices, and your life can be drastically different. All right, it is radical ownership. I always tell my students, radical ownership. We're holding up a mirror. But it empowers you. It truly does. So high five me if you're with me. Put a 5 in the chat. That's what we need to do, But our ego is very tricky. And he writes here, since the ego always wants to be right, it must create a dynamic such that it can be right even in situations where it knows it's behaving poorly, right? Such as destructive expressions like anger. And so saying I'm upset because emerges as a perfect solution for the ego to engage in a negative behavior because it's like, I'm right? You shouldn't have done this, and I know I'm right about this. It's just crazy. All right, he says, if I can change the person or situation upsetting me, I will no longer feel upset. That's what we think. That's what the ego thinks. And it makes perfect sense to the ego. And off you go in the effort to change someone or something out there. And how is that working out for you? Right? Not well. He says, have you noticed that such attempts at effecting outer change, in those rare times that they're successful, can actually produce a temporary reduction maybe in the upset, but rarely produce long-term equanimity that you're seeking. And likely, you probably upset some people on the way about telling them you should do this, don't do this, whatever. All right? There is another way. He says, page 89 at the bottom, it's in italics. Inner chronic disturbance is being acted out in repeated outer disturbances. Meaning, or he says, and further, might this inner disturbance be soul orchestrated in service to learning a more direct and healthy approach to addressing the inner disturbances? So there is a concept. I think I've talked about it before. Certainly my students, I've talked to you about it. about, we call it the seed to the weed. So the idea that our soul came here with certain seeds planted. And just like in a garden, you need the right weather for that seed to grow, right? And then you'll know what's planted there because you'll see whatever, dandelions or whatever, marigolds. You came into this life with certain lessons you were supposed to learn, and they came in the form of these little seeds, okay? And then the dynamics happen in your life in a way that the right weather is created, the right environment. The right family member says something, the right boss says something, the right circumstances are created so that seed can grow. And what does that seed growing feel like? Well, it feels like anger. It feels like frustration. It feels like this isn't fair. It feels like all the stuff we don't like to feel and we like to project out there. It's the boss's fault. It's the family member. They said this, whatever. This is perfect timing because all of you are about to go to Thanksgiving and we're triggered the most usually by family. So understand, they're just revealing that this seed was inside of you. They're actually revealing your soul's lesson plan to you. What you were supposed to deal with in this lifetime. Feelings of abandonment, feelings of not being worthy. That's what you're supposed to address. And we have the free will to be able to address each situation as it comes out of us, as we get triggered, as that seed sprouts to go, oh, I don't have to be angry. I can choose. I can have a different internal response. Right? But you have to have this context first. And this is huge. We were just actually having a massive conversation about this on Sunday here at the community with our teacher. He was talking about destiny. And, you know, people were really saying, well, is it my soul's destiny to do this or that or whatever? And he said, your destiny is in this present moment. Your destiny is to be able to see the things that are triggered and to realize that's what my soul came here to deal with in this lifetime. And to have the free will to choose to have a different reaction rather than being completely dominated by this unconscious and automatic response. That unconscious and automatic stuff is coming up in that moment. It's being revealed so you can finally see what seeds are there. So you can actually see your soul's lesson plan. Is this making sense? Destiny has nothing to do with creating in the physical world. And I think this book lays that out so perfectly. It says that's goal line stuff. Sure, go for it. But the idea is to use the stuff on that goal line as you're building a business, as you're pursuing, right? To see the stuff that gets kicked up along the way, because that's the stuff that comes with you past this life. That's why you came here. Those are the lessons you're supposed to learn while you were here on earth. That's what they're saying. Is this making sense? Like this is everything. And it's massive. He says, though, without a working knowledge of how to resolve these disturbances in consciousness, it's easy to adopt a victim-oriented position and to experience all the suffering that comes with it. We call this self-created victimization, and I don't stand for it. If you work with me long enough, I'll just say, well, what role are you playing in that? What way of being are you having that is, adding to this situation, right? It's interesting because when you change, guys, the world will change with you. Okay, he shares this story of Susan and like the messy in-laws and how she finally realized like, well, the whole messy thing is like her need to control. Like she's so clean because she wants to control everything. And when she realized that that was a seed of hers that was being revealed by the in-laws triggering it, right? The house was messy and she was like, really angry about it. And then she realized what's actually the problem here? Well, the actual problem is I want to control things and I can't control their cleanliness. And she has this realization. And then she says, well, I'm going to talk now that I understand that it's my problem, but still, like, they're in our house. They should respect and keep it tidy. Like, I'll talk to my husband and then we'll have a civil conversation about it. Well, she goes home from class that day and guess what? The in-laws had cleaned up. There's an energy that's there. And I swear to you, it's like when you learn the lesson, all of a sudden the obstacle moves. It was like me after my brain injury. I was headbutting the fact that I had an injury. I was refusing to accept it. It was like, it shouldn't be this way. It could have been different. I'm going to push back, blah, blah, blah. And finally, when I just surrendered and I said, okay, just is what it is. I'm going to find happiness despite the injury. I'm going to have an internal shift here. I'm going to flip a switch that says I'm just happy in the present moment with whatever's going on. And when I did that, interestingly, the answer... we all know what it was too, right? This answer to my physical symptoms came into our world. How wild is that? Okay. And as he says, they're not coincidences. He says with the number of times I've seen this, coincidence simply doesn't explain the data very well because it's not a coincidence. He says, once people successfully do a piece of inner work, they are literally living within a new inner reality, and the outer reality will often come into alignment with it. All right? It's pretty darn cool. So, page 92, he talks about how disturbance is an inside job, how we are the ones being triggered. And if you look at this, I'm upset because, if whatever comes after that, because, he says, dial into this. He says, because is the method the ego uses to point at whatever it perceives as causing its disturbance. People tend to think they need a cause to blame so that they can justify this inner state of feeling like the seed sprouted, right? And they're like, it's uncomfortable. The inner state of disturbance, as well as any resulting behavior. What so-and-so did is a good reason for the way that I'm feeling, right? Now, it's caused by whatever they did. You perceive, though, through filters. And these filters are the karmic seeds. These are the things that you need to be realizing because that's your soul's journey. That is what you're supposed to be doing. It's not about creating in this external world. It's just not. You're going to make the $1 million and then nothing's going to change. All that inner stuff is still sitting in you because you missed the point. The point of this life is not to have all the things and achieve all the things and all the acknowledgments and awards and all of this stuff. No, you're going to get it and then you're still going to feel empty. And it's because you're missing your soul's journey. You're missing the lessons the soul is meant to learn along the way, which is to address all that stuff that's in there, that's getting triggered all the time. And that's what we talk about. That's what I do. That's what I help with. That's what I love. Because once I realized this, it changed everything. And I want you guys to have the same awareness. Okay? You have to remember that those kernels, those seeds, they can come with you or they got planted when you were young, right? My teacher calls them emotional memory stress. Okay? It's like your PTSD, and it clouds how you see things. Literally, it's like you have glasses on your face where you're not even seeing clearly what's happening because you have such a jaded almost way of perceiving because of how you've dealt with and seen things in the past. But once you realize this, you create space from it and you go, oh, I don't have to wear those sunglasses anymore, right? I can put those down. This no one ever listens to me pair of sunglasses. I'm going to just put those down. People do actually listen to me, and maybe I need to speak up more, right? Whatever it is. Page 93. He says, agitation also appears to be cumulative in that it builds in consciousness until it reaches a point where it can no longer be contained. At that point, you're set to blow up at the slightest provocation. And you don't even realize this, but you're in search of something to get upset about. And so you just blow up at this one thing. And, people will say, oh, they have a short fuse, or, oh, sorry, I know it's not this, it's all these other things. Like, we know that it's happening, but no one has told us how to deal with it and how to navigate it. Okay? But you're disempowering yourself when you give your power over to all these external circumstances. He says, you have effectively given, let me read this. I have effectively given my power over to you, and you can disturb my peace anytime you want by simply engaging in a behavior I've defined as objectionable. Literally. Imagine that. Like, people will try to control everyone around them. Don't say these things. Don't perform this way. Don't make that noise. Don't do this thing. Blah, 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 blah. Because when you do it, it disturbs me. And they try to control it all. But guess what? You can't. And so people are going to do stuff. And guess what you have done? You have basically given your power over to the little 5-year-old who's now going to do the thing that they're doing because they like the toy and they're going to play it. And now you're getting agitated because of that. You've given your power away to that. Are you kidding me? Like, when you start to realize these things, it hits you in the head and you go, this is silly. This is silly. Let me get my power back. All right. But each disturbance is an opportunity. He says, physical world reality exists for the purpose of spiritual evolution, period, full stop, end of sentence. All right. The trigger is the teacher. Okay. This should be your attitude towards life. What disturbs you is a clear indicator of your soul's curriculum, right? As you're likely, it's as clear as it's ever going to get, okay? He says, when you become upset, it's as if life has just waved a big red flag signaling to you, attention, attention, this is it, over here, look at this, okay? Look here, here's the inner work that's next for you to do. This is the inner work that you need to do. That is what is happening. When you get triggered, that is what is happening. And he says, each negative feeling can actually be considered a spiritual opportunity to work with it and heal and resolve it. And it's worth it, even though it feels awful and you're like, I don't want to touch that thing. That's why I've tried to control everybody to avoid that thing. The moment you deal with it, it's like it passes through and it's gone. You've dealt with the root of the issue and you have to just really feel it one time and then it moves through. I mean, this is the power of yoga therapy, of yoga nidra, of all the things that I teach and all the practices. We'll see what these guys have to offer, but it is so healing. So a principle that comes out of this chapter is principle 10. Pause due to poor connection. Uh-oh. Are we back? Sorry. Well, I thought I had solved our internet problems because I got Starlink, but it's actually not set up on our roof yet. I have it just sitting outside. And yeah, looks to be an issue. Well, good news is this will be up on YouTube. Okay, if you're not getting it, a clean version will go up on YouTube. Okay, but principle 10, all becauses are merely triggers to internal unresolved issues inviting completion. Anytime you get triggered, that's your teaching moment, and it's to reveal to you the seed that was living there that you now need to go deal with. Hopefully that makes sense. All right. What if the same thing happened and you didn't have to become upset? Wouldn't it be valuable to know that that is an option and learn how to master that dynamic? How do I master my internal response? What if all becauses were seen as methods for bringing your spiritual curriculum into awareness? Wow. What if you went through life day by day, everything that got triggered is all of a sudden your spiritual curriculum, it's revealing itself. What a beautiful way to go through life. Rather than being upset by what you're triggered, you go, oh, another clue. Flag is waving over here. This is what I need to go deal with. Okay? And then you can examine that core belief that's being triggered and learn to deal with it. Again, I don't know how they're going to tell you to deal with it. I just know how I tell you to deal with it. Principle 11, he says, inner disturbances are themselves a major component of the spiritual curriculum you are here to complete. They're your karma. So people really misunderstand karma. They think, oh, what goes around comes around. No. How you are will get created in situation after situation. It's the lens you wear. It's the seed. The karmic seeds I'm talking about that you come into this lifetime with, or that get planted when you're young, or by the things that you're doing, that's your karma. It's internal karma. It's the external world plus your internal response that makes your reality. The internal response is your karma. Okay? Hope that's clear. People really don't understand karma. He says, inner disturbances are themselves a major component of spiritual curriculum that you are here to complete. It's revealing the internal response. It's revealing your karma. He says, what a concept. I'm on page 96. What a concept. In this context, anger, hurt, resentment, betrayal, abandonment, guilt, shame, rejection, disappointment, sadness, and so on are all spiritual curricula encoded into a consciousness to provide us with the God-given opportunity to heal or to complete these unresolved issues for the last time. Once you shine the light of awareness on them, it heals them. They move through. He says, when you're willing to take responsibility for healing the disturbed places in your own consciousness, you have a way you can grow spiritually that is totally within your dominion and not dependent upon changing anything outside of yourself. It's a choice you make, it's a choice you continue to make, and it is a choice that will liberate you day by day, moment by moment. Principle 12, we'll end with this. Unresolved issues are not bad. They are just part of your spiritual curriculum and are an opportunity for healing. That's what it's all about. Okay, so it's not that you're never supposed to get angry. It's not that you're never supposed to judge people. It's not that you're never supposed to get frustrated or have resentments or whatever. It's that when the situation arises and that comes, you know, oh, red flag, I'm being told spiritually to look internal and figure out what just got triggered. What is that? I had a great conversation with someone locally after the talk this Sunday because they said, you know, what? Like, this is tricky. It's really tricky. And I'm getting triggered into fear and all this stuff is happening. And like, what's going on? And I said, well, how beautiful. You know, what are you scared of? And very clearly, I'm afraid I'm not going to be good enough. And I was like, that's it. That's the seed. That's the seed that's probably been with you like a lifetime of, well, I don't feel good enough. And so maybe it stopped you from doing certain things, or it's made you fearful if you tried something new because you're like, I'm probably going to fail, you know? That's your spiritual curriculum. It's not about going and making it happen in the external world. It's about getting into the arena, trying to move things forward, right? Like you are, and realizing it's popping up this fear. It's popping up this feeling that I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. I'm not able, right? And it's going, that's not true. I am capable, right? And it's looking at that and it's healing that. And then the fear will go away in these circumstances. So that's what it's about. This is the one-on-one work that I do that I love. So many insights can come through with this, like what are these core seeds? But I'm intrigued to see what they offer in this book for us to deal with them. And I honestly don't know. We might be able to finish the chapter. I'm going to say try to finish the chapter. It's just page 97 to like page, I think it's like 111, which feels like we can do that next week. So enjoy your Thanksgiving if you're here in the U.S. And we will be finishing up chapter 5 next week. And hopefully Monday is when the internet gets installed. So let's hope it's not while we're doing this. But everything should be good next week. All right, lots of love, everyone. And thanks for kicking off your Monday with me.